How far does the 7-iron have to go?
Woo!
Bella B.
Bella B.
Good question.
But
beautiful question. Making the 7-iron as a distance. This is the question they ask me, and I think they ask you most often too. Do you know when they ask it to me? At class 1. That's right. The Giangiacomo Giangiotti, the Gianja, our imaginary friend who starts playing, is the ideal stereotype of this question. But how much should this 7-iron make?
Then let's start with why this question tends to be asked tendentially. A player who starts to play takes a few shots and doesn't know. Because he doesn't have a background yet, he doesn't know what shot is taken well, what shot is taken poorly, and therefore he doesn't know what distance he should make a fair shot.
He needs to understand how far he should take the right shot to understand which ones are the wrong ones.
Yeah, exactly. So having a reference point, say, okay, if I get about there, I did a good thing. The problem is that the answer...
There isn't. But yeah, let's say it's very difficult to give it, especially in the first lesson, because you would have to be able to get a perfect ball in those conditions. So with that stick, with that ball, in that weather condition, and with the swing that she can do at that moment, the best.
The best swing at that moment,
But you're at a stage where you're learning, and so you're on the launch pad, you're learning very fast. So the perfect shot at the beginning of the lesson might be different from the best shot you can make with that club at the end of the lesson. Right, and in fact, often the
answer I gave is a little obnoxious at the beginning. You really is a little obnoxious, but then it can make the point that we don't have to shoot the ball a certain distance. Get from here to where the ball falls, but we have to put the ball as close as possible to where our target, so we don't have to think about the 7-iron made us 80 yards. I better make it 100, better make it 120. It would be better to make it 250, the 7-iron at this point, but if the target was 120, it's scale.
A lesson is of stopover. Oh yes, and that's exactly what it is, which is to scale. Because the 7-iron doesn't necessarily have to go a distance, but it will go a distance.
Based on what kind of player you are, what speed you pass, how you impact the ball, etc., etc. Let's pretend it does. But 100.
100, 100, 100. If I need to make 90, I will simply take the lower iron, so I will take an 8. If I need to do 80, at that point, I will pick the 9. And down like that, going up same, it's not I have the 7-iron, I need to do 110, I'll pull harder. No. Always turn it more or less the same way, so have a more or less always stable angular velocity. And it is the lever and therefore the stick that changes to make us do
plus the off,
of course, to make us do a different distance. So a different dish generating...
Different room. In fact, the problem is not so much what distance does our stick do, but is that there is that ratio of distance between all the irons' attention in the hole. The bag, because very often there are bags in players that have very large holes of 20 to 30 meters even sometimes, or conversely other bags that have sticks that go completely overlapping. And so I would say almost two useless sticks if played under the same conditions. We come back here in the question, how much does my iron make? What, 7?
Distance. You have to learn how much he makes you, and you have to try to make him make that distance all the time. This is the trick to playing well. If you know your 7-iron makes 100 yards, but you make it consistently, so with minimal snap between the best shot and the worst shot, you've already made B. Then
still
yes,
a very good player.
Yes, regardless of the fact that maybe you're going to play with someone who the 7-iron will
However,
make 150.
If he makes 150, the time after 100, the time after 180, he's not a good player. The ball near the target, he never puts it there. He's just cool because he shoots so strong. Yes, the time he starts with the 180, he struts around with the whole circle, except he went in back and made 3 blockers minimum if it goes well. And in addition, not to underestimate is the fact that the same stick with the same swing will not always make the same distance based on all of the external components. To us, who are the lie of the ball, how the ball is placed on the ground weather conditions.
Wind, humidity.
Temperature, altitude, slope, altitude, i.e. how much higher down the flag is.
Altitude. Coming, where do we shoot?
Any bounces then that the ball takes, so we don't just calculate the flight, but also where it stops, the ball, etc. So Knowing how to also recognize all these variables makes us then be able to really shoot the 7-iron target. Sometimes you see on television these players shooting 7-iron from 210 meters and...
Maybe there is a favorable rise from the top down. They're on the high ground. Maybe they're 800, 1,000 meters from the altitude. I'm not saying it's easy because it's not broken of everybody, however, it's a little more justified. I mean, it's not like they pulled something without a point. They simply brought home the little extra pieces given by each of the contingencies.
But then, maybe the next hole, the same 7-iron, they pull it at 140? Because maybe situations change, the wind has turned, maybe there is some water in front, they prefer to lean a little after the flag, and then maybe take the slope that brings the ball back to them. And so the same stick served them to do two different things, but then actually tried to do almost the same thing. They just calculated where the ball was going to go to the perfection they almost always try to be.
Neither are the professional top 10 in the world. So let's remember, when we make a flapper, that all things considered, we can make another one later and no one will kill us. Absolutely, in fact. And so we're curious, how many meters does your 7-iron make? And how many meters does your 7-iron make? I shoot it kind of tendentially, and it depends on what position I'm in.
Oh, perfect.
I wanted to see if you would respond, but screwed. I don't know. 0 to... Hopefully it goes close to the hole.
Well, ball condition in fairway.
Really, I was closing.
Ball in the fairway, fairly soft course conditions, so there are bounces of the ball, 0 wind altitude, Po Valley. What time of the...
Where am I playing? Maybe I'm playing a nice course. I don't know. I don't want to ruin it. I don't do ball in fairway.
You're playing Le Rovedine Golf Club. Da cabletore, okay, you are in a palazzolo, you are in a state of form like a Parmigiano, the normal form exactly.
How many meters?
Pulled full.
More or less around 150 by orders of magnitude. But yes, more or less. My guess is even a little bit more. 155. Yes, because I try to do it slowly, because otherwise I don't bend the grid. Full stroke, 100%. Yes, it's almost 160. However, you don't know. I never play 100%. 90, 100%. 35, 35, 35.
Oh, but I'm just under around 150/145 according to things too. And so now it's your turn out.
Can you let us know how much your Iron 7 does? Below in the comments to the left.
And there it is.
But we managed to close it, this video. But this may be the 5th time we've done this video. Moving forward. Iron 7, dodge your fingers.